Thank you, bro. Thank you, everybody. It's truly a joy to be here. I am humbled. I am excited. I am nervous. I'm every all of those things because it is truly a unique season, and the word tells us that the people who know their God shall be strong and do great exploits. So it is a season where God is revealing His people to a world in need of hope. And so, Rondell, it's a joy to see you, bro. Really appreciate you. Lizzie for Shizzy, man, you know, that heart is strong, you know. And all those who are here joining, you are not here by chance, you are here by divine appointment. And I was gonna share what's in my heart, all right? And so here I go. And I want to begin by just showing you a few pictures. Hopefully you can see the first one. This is of my brother Jermaine. The second one, handsome young man, my brother Kimani. And this handsome young man right here, believe it or not, this is Sean, man, when I was handsome, innocent, and good looking. And this final picture is of me and my three brothers. Hopefully you can see it, but this was many, many years ago, like many years ago. But the thing about growing up with brothers, we are all kind of close in age, is that very often people will call us the wrong names. Andre, like myself, is the eldest of three. And so when you have siblings, people tend to not know who you are because they claim that you look alike. And so growing up, people call me Jermaine by mistake or Kimani by mistake. And I'd be like, no, man, I am Sean, you know, because I don't think I look like them, but apparently to many people, we did. And my point is this, is that when people don't know you or aren't familiar with you, they don't know who you are. And when others who are outside don't know who we are, that is not too good, but it is even more tragic when we don't know who we are. And I want to share this evening to help us understand who we are, because it is one of the greatest questions ever. You know, who am I? And we have the world concept and we have God's concept. And so I want to share with you about a man, this man, amazing man. He did amazing things. He lived in purpose. He knew who he was, and he had a significant contribution upon the earth. And I believe that there are some things that we can learn from him. So at the end of this session, even though it's only an hour or so, we can have a better picture of who we are and what we can do. And this man is Jesus, you know. He is perhaps the most well-known man in the history of the earth, but he lived a life that we can learn from and glean some valuable insights from. And so this man came on the scene, had a clear vision, had a clear purpose, and he began to do great and amazing things. And in that process, some people began to ask some questions. Who is he? You know, who is this man? And they framed these questions from four perspectives. And I want you to pay close attention, because even though this occurred years ago, thousands of years ago, people still examine themselves or see themselves through this lens. And the first one, we can see this, is education. Hopefully it looks right on the camera. Education. As Jesus began to do great things, they asked, who is he? How come he knows so much, having never learned? And the truth is that even today, many people seek their identity in their education, in their intellect, and what they have achieved. You know, Andre mentioned about me go to KC and he went to JC. Many people have their identity in their school and in their accomplishment and in their masters and the PhD and all that. But is that really a safe place to go to for your identity? And even in this season, I know that people are having a challenge, even in completing their education. You know, where is the money coming from? And even that grand day where we go on the platform and we graduate and get our diploma or our degree, that might not be possible. And so if we put our identity in education, it is very scary because it is not permanent, it is fleeting. And so the other one I want to talk about is this one, occupation. When Jesus began to do great things, they say, who is he? And the answer was, he's just a carpenter. And even today, I tell you, man, people put so much weight into their job, into what they do, you know. I am doctor so and I am lawyer so and so. But we are now in a time of great upheaval. I saw an article the other day where it says that over 27 million people in the US alone have lost their jobs. Just like that, their job is gone. And if you put your identity, your value, your sense of self or worth in a job, when that job goes, it's not just your job goes, your identity goes, your value goes. And Andre and I do great work in the realm of sports. And very often we see athletes who have amazing careers. I mean, they are well known, they are great, the people know them. But at some point in time, the career ends and they don't know how to adjust because as far as they are concerned, I'm a basketball player. And this is why even in their life, athletes, when they stop playing, the divorce rate is 80% because they go home and they don't know how to function as an individual. You see, it is so precarious and unwise to put our confidence or our sense of self in anyone outside of God. But I'm coming there. The next one is this one, association. You know, when they talk about Jesus, they said, man, he's just the son of, you know, Joseph and Mary, who we know, you know, because people, again, identify people according to family, groups, organizations, and then we tend to gravitate to different places to have a sense of value. And I tell you what I've discovered, one of the almost scary things about association is this, that the more people are familiar with you is often the less they see greatness within you. It's like they are so close that they can't see what God has put inside of you. And if you and I don't understand who we are, we often allow associations, in particular family members, to hinder what God wants to do in our lives. And so we have to be very careful of the concept of association. And this one now, location. And the reason why I'm sharing about these things, I believe it is important for us to understand how the world thinks so we can navigate. This one is a big one. As a Jamaican, when you travel overseas, sometimes, you know, when they hear you're from Jamaica, what do they think? That you smoke weed. You know, it's like people think that everybody in Jamaica smokes weed, and they have these assumptions that they make based on where you're from. And even here in Jamaica, we too make assumptions of people. There are many people who, when they apply for jobs, they are afraid to put their right address. Why? Because people will identify them with a type of behavior based on their location. And so we have to understand that our location does not define us. This is why they asked of Jesus, hey, where is he from? They said Nazareth. And here's a question. Can anything good come from Nazareth? And I see many of us, many people ask the same questions, you know. Can anything good come from Tivoli? Come from jungle? Come from below crossroads? Because there is an assumption that if you are from a particular location, then you have unique gifts or virtues or just values. And I remember and this thing really hit me. We were doing a project, and this project was to help those who didn't finish high school have a second chance at life, to re-enter school or get a job. And I remember we were talking to a lady, and get this, family. Her desire was, Mr. Williams, I want to work in New Kingston. So I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? What are your gifts? No, Mr. Williams, I just want to work in New Kingston. I'm like, what? I don't understand. And then I began to understand that because New Kingston is known to be the corporate area, the center of business, where folks wear nice dress and nice suit and drive nice cars, her value system that she was taught by the world told her that if she worked in New Kingston, that location, then she'll become valuable. And I'm like, we have been taught a host of lies, and people see themselves through these wrong lenses, and they never ever discover who they are because they are building their ideas, their sense of worth and self, and all of these. And I'm telling you, location, association, occupation, all those, man, they do not determine your value, your worth, nor your identity. And I'm saying to you, young adults, you have to be aware of this because that is how people think. Give another example. You may go into the working world. You are millennial. You are fresh, man, innovative ideas. You are passion. You have your nice degree. You have studied, and you go to a workforce, and you are met with opposition by an employer, and you ask yourself, what did I do? Why the hate? The thing is, if people are at work and they see their position as a means of their validation, as a means of their identity, when you come there with your bright ideas, they feel threatened. They feel insecure. So now they have to fight against you to preserve their position or their status. Do you see how important identity is? It shapes your mind and your thoughts and your ideas, even your relationships. And too many of our girls and women are taught and grown up to think that their identity and their value is in a man, in a person, in an association. So they tolerate all manner of things from men. No, I'm a father of 2 girls, man, and I'm telling you, when God gave me, I'm like, God, you gave me girls. I'm like, why? Because I felt this pressure to prepare them for how the world thinks and operates, that their value is based on their weight or their size or their complexion. And all these things we have to be aware of. But we are in the world and we're not of it. So we have to be aware of how the world thinks, how the world sees things, so we ourselves cannot fall prey to it, but also teach others how to navigate it. I hope you are here. I hope you are still there, because that was simply the introduction. I want to finish strong. Don't want to talk too long because we want to allow time for engaging and questions. Now, this is something, and I have 2 awesome fathers here, Rondell and Andre Virgil. My heart big. One of the reasons why, and this paid my heart, why people don't have an idea of who they are is an issue of fatherhood. The fatherlessness in our nation is destroying our people. Because get this, identity, I love my wife and I love my mother, but identity does not come from the woman, they come from the father. This is why my daughters have my last name. They're Peyton and Lauren Williams, my name. I gave them my name. And our God, Jesus, when he came upon the earth, our Heavenly Father made sure to affirm him so he would know who he is. This is why he said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." So God made sure that Jesus knew who he was. And this is why he was able to do great things, because he lived from a place of secure identity. And God affirmed who he was before he did anything great, because it's not about that. It's about the relationship. Watch this now. Here it is. Before he did anything great, God the Father made sure he knew who he was. And when he did great things, please don't miss this part. The great things that he did not define him, it revealed him. When you know who you are and you do great things, they do not define you. Who you are defines what you do. What you do does not define who you are. So you can be a janitor in an office and still be great and still be powerful and still be significant, because you have to understand that when Jesus did great things, they spoke to who he is and who his Father is. So when you and I do great things, it reveals things to people that, hey, here is a son, someone who knows who he is. Because identity, family, is all about where you're from. Wow. You've got to know where you're from. You've got to know where you're from. And I'm telling you, it's not about what you do, it's about where you are from. No, I'm closing now. The plane going to land now. When the Father said, "This is my beloved Son," John said he heard a loud voice, a dove rested upon Jesus. The entire world knew. But immediately after, he was led into the wilderness, and the enemy showed up with some temptations. Note the purpose of the temptation. He said, all right, if you are the Son of God, turn these stones into bread. Yes, he was fasting. He was hungry. But the temptation wasn't about food. It was to see if he knew who he was. Whenever God makes a declaration, the enemy comes with a question to make us doubt the declaration. And we have a choice to make. Do we believe in God's declaration, or do we give heed to the question? So I can tell you this, all those who are watching or maybe listening, very shortly after this session, the enemy is going to come with a question to make you doubt all that we do here. And you have a choice to make. Do I believe the declaration or the question? And what I love about the Son of God, he never said, I am God's son. You know why? When you know who you are, you don't have to defend yourself. When you know who you are, you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. When you know who you are okay with being misunderstood. You are okay with no applause, no recognition, no pat on the back, because your identity comes from above, not below. And so if you find yourself always seeking man's approval or trying to say, I am Sean A. Williams, ABCHIJKLOPNOB behind my name, it may speak to the fact you're not totally sure who you are as yet. Yeah. The enemy comes, man, with his question. But I close with this. When you discover who you are, it's unbelievable. The David, Psalm 8, the psalmist, he says, when I consider, he says, who is Randall? That God is mindful of him. Who is Andre? That God's mind is full of Andre. That he has made Andre a little lower than God. He has made Andre a little lower than God and crowned Andre with glory, crowned Lizzie with honor, and said, I have given you dominion. Walk in the territory, rule and reign in your area of gifting and passion and burden. Have authority, effect change, because you come from me. you come from me. And I've struggled with this, you know. I've been sometime I say, boy, Lord, find somebody else. Find somebody holy like Andre, you know. Find somebody more perfect. But God said, no, man, I choose you. And I chose him because he chose me. And every day I try to understand who I am in him more and more. But when you discover who you are, you wouldn't want to be anybody else. Be you. If God has called you to do something, you have to be you to do it. The moment you become somebody else, you sabotage your ability to fulfill your purpose. Know who you are. And to know who you are, you have to know where you're from.